All right, so yesterday we talked about conjunctions and disjunctions and about their truth values. And so now we're going to basically do the same thing, but we're going to do them in a truth table. It's a type of proof, okay? So a truth table is a graphic organizer that's used to determine truth values, and they always start out the same way. So you're going to have to memorize this beginning start. But we talk about two different statements. One statement we're calling P, one statement we're going to call Q. And the idea for the truth values is we start out with all the different possible combinations of trues and falses. So we could have a true and a true, we could have a true and a false, we could have a false and a true, or we could have a false and a false. So truth values always have to start out this way. You need to memorize this beginning point, and it has to be done the same way all the time. So whether you're going to memorize across, like I just read, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false, that's fine. Or if you want to memorize your statement truth value straight down, that's okay too. So P is always going to be TTFF and Q is always going to be TFTF. You need to figure it out, but you need to memorize it in this order. Okay, so this next truth table is pretty easy. I always memorize across. So for P and Q, I always think of TT, TF, FT, FF. Well, this next column has this negation of P. So you look at the P column and you say, okay, well, if P started out as true, it's got to go to false. P starts out as true, the negation is false, false negation is true, and a false negation is true. Then for my negate Q, well, if Q is T, negate Q is false. If Q is false, then I've got to negate Q is true, true, false, false, true. Those don't have to be memorized, what's in green and red, but what has to be memorized is what's in blue. Okay, so we're going to give you scenarios that make it a little bit easier for you to remember these things. So the first sentence, P, is I clean my room. The second sentence, Q, is I do the dishes. Here's the scenario for a conjunction. Mom says to you, if you clean your room and you do the dishes, you can go out on Saturday night. But you have to make sure that you listen to the instructions. You must clean your room and you must do the dishes. Well, as we said earlier, truth tables start out the same way. TT, TF, FT, FF. When we fill the truth table, we ask ourselves the question, did we clean your room? Yes. Did you do the dishes? Yes. Are you allowed to go out? Absolutely. Next line, did you clean your room? Yep. Did you do the dishes? No. Are you allowed out on Saturday night? And the answer should be absolutely not. Third situation, did you clean your room? No. Did you do the dishes? Yes. Are you allowed out? No. You didn't do everything she said to do. Fourth situation, did you clean your room? No. Did you do the dishes? No. Is she letting you out on the weekend? Absolutely not. So the only way that a conjunction is true is if both statements are true. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and now you see it in a graphic organizer format, when both statements are true. Okay, so there's your conjunction. Let's take a look at this next one. Given same statements, you clean your room, do the dishes, P and Q. The scenario now for a disjunction, this is the or. Mom says to you this time, okay, here's the deal. Clean your room or do the dishes. That way you can go out over the weekend. So true tables always start the same way. TT, TF, FT, FF. So if I go back to my first column, did I clean my room? Yes. Did I do the dishes? Am I allowed out? Absolutely. I cleaned the room, but I didn't do my dishes. Remember, Mom only said do one or the other. So yeah, I'm allowed out. I didn't clean my room, but I did do the dishes. I still did one or the other. I'm allowed out. This last scenario, I didn't clean my room or do the dishes. Not only am I not going out, I'm probably grounded, right? So when is a disjunction false? The only way a disjunction is false is when both statements are false. Again, we looked at this a little bit yesterday. And now we're seeing it more in a graphic organizer format when both statements are false. So if you think about the scenarios, you don't have to memorize all the truth tables. And some people are going to want to try to memorize them. I think that's crazy. I think just think about the scenarios. Okay? So you're going to start constructing your own truth tables. So they want a truth table for negation P and Q. Well, truth tables always have to start out the same way. You always need a P and you always need a Q. Well, if I start looking at what's in this particular truth table, I notice that I've got this negation of P. I don't have a negation of Q, but I have a negation of P. So I better put that negation of P in my truth table. So I definitely need a negation of P. Well, there's no other single statement that I need, but then I see that the entire problem has to be negation P and Q. So that's going to be my final column, negate P and Q. So let's see how this works. Again, you always start the same way, TT, TF, FT, FF. Well, I'm asking for, or they're asking me for the negation of P. So I'm going to look at P and I'm going to say, okay, well, T goes to F. I'll negate this T. I'll negate my F, and I'll negate my F. The final column says I want negate P and Q. What that means is I have to look at those situations. I have to look at this particular column, negate P, and then I have to look at Q. And those are my room and my dishes questions. So what I'm going to say to myself is, all right, did I clean my room? And the answer is no. Did I do the dishes? The answer is yes. But am I allowed out? Well, Mom says I've got to clean my room and do the dishes. So this means no. There's no way I'm going out. I didn't clean my room or do the dishes. Heck no, she won't let me out. I did both chores. I definitely can go out. I didn't do both chores. I'm staying in. Okay? So you just have to be careful as to what lines or what columns you have to look at for your problems. Let's take a look at this last one. This one's a little bit longer. I've got to start out the exact same way, right? I need to start with my P and then my Q. I'm looking for any negation of single letters, and I see one. I've got a negation of Q, which is right here. I also have a parenthesis. I need to get that parenthesis done. So I'm going to do a parenthesis, which is P or negate Q. And now everything is done piece by piece, so I need the final statement, which is P and P or negate Q. Looks like this might be tricky, but I'm telling you it's really easy. So T, 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 F, F, T, F, F. Okay, I need to negate Q. So my Q column turns into the opposites. False, true, false, true. Now I need to do an OR with P and negate Q. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to look here. And I'm going to say, did I clean my room or do the dishes? If I did one or the other, I'm allowed out. So I cleaned my room, I didn't do the dishes, but I am allowed out. Cleaned room, did dishes, totally allowed out. Didn't do either chore, forget it, I'm at home. I didn't clean my room, but I did the dishes, I'm allowed out. Okay. Last but not least is this final column. And this final column says I need to look at P and then P or not Q, which means I'm going to look here and I'm going to look here. And this becomes an and, right? This is my and. So I'm going to say, did I do both chores? Am I allowed out? Well, I did both chores. I'm definitely going out. I did both chores. I'm definitely going out. I didn't do either. There's no way I'm going out. And I did not one but the other, so I'm not going out. So this thing ends up with a TT and an FF. Okay? So again, if you've got the scenarios, and you know how to start off your truth table, it should be really easy. All right, so good luck with the homework tonight.